Hi, this is Sam Lagana with the Los Angeles Rams. Whose house? You're listening to the Los Angeles Rams UK podcast. Undenied worldwide. The Los Angeles Rams. It doesn't get any better than this. Let's go Rams!
Good evening, welcome to episode 107 of the LA Rams UK podcast. Who's tanking now? I'm John, and joined with me is Andy. Andy, how are you doing, mate? And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well, mate. Much better now I'm over the COVID.
Yeah, you've not had a great Christmas period there, mate. You were just saying the same online there.
Stuck in isolation for Christmas, just what you want.
Well, but surely it must have been, good in some respect because you'd have been isolated with your Los Angeles Rams. Playing 3 games since we last recorded.
Yeah, that was the only good thing, mate. I was isolated on my own. I could watch the games in peace with no issues from any of the family.
Yeah. So, obviously, due to the Christmas New Year period, it's obviously been very busy and we've not been able to get any episodes out. So, got quite a bit to cover tonight. So, we've got the Commanders game, the Saints game, and the Giants game. And, I guess we'll have to talk about them bastards as well. We've got coming up this Sunday. Apologies for I'm not going to actually apologise for my language tonight, folks, because it's them. Anyways, so Andy, since we last recorded, we've played 3 games. We've came out with 3 wins, and we'll talk about what that means in a minute. But yeah, just thoughts over the last few weeks. So 28-20 victory over the Commanders, 30-22 victory over the Saints, and I've done it again. It's not 26-26, it's 26-25 against the Giants. How do you feel like the last 3 weeks have went for us, Andy?
Obviously happy to have got the wins, but there's been some concerning things with the team. We seem to, especially second half, seem to fold and let teams back into games. On all 3 of those games, we were pretty much steamroller them, and then we sort of felt like we just took our foot off the gas, and it was, we allowed teams back into it, which is worrying, especially with the games we potentially got coming up. We cannot be doing that. We need to keep our foot on the gas and make sure teams get completely put out of reach and they can't have a chance to come back. But it's nice to get the wins, obviously, but there are, especially on defense, there's some concern and worries on the defense.
Yeah, just like you're saying there about taking the foot off the gas, like the Commanders in the Saints game specifically, they're highlighting those ones. The Rams being, shutting the Commanders out in the first half, and being 20, like it says 28-20, it finished up conceding 13 points in the last quarter and pretty much pushing it to a point where like the Commanders could come back and beat us here. And bearing in mind the Commanders, performed really well against the Eagles, the likes of the Eagles in 2 games. They're a team that, despite their records, they're not necessarily a bad team, just that they've not been good enough to put other teams away.
Nah.
But the game, it was squeaky bum time, basically, that game, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, like I said, even before the game start, before in our preview of the game, it was dependent on what Sam Howell came out. If we got the good Sam Howell or the crappy Sam Howell. Unfortunately, we kind of got the crappy Sam Howell, and then Jacoby Brissett came in, and I'm not being funny, tore us apart.
Well, that's it. 2 touchdown passes off of 8 completions.
Yeah.
Yeah, he certainly did tear us apart. But, someone else who tore the Commanders apart in that game was Kyren Williams with 152 yards on the ground. Again, another absolute stellar performance from Williams there. We've seen Cooper Kupp. He'll go over 100 yards and a touchdown there. But one player that's kind of came out in recent weeks is, I'd say, is Demarcus Robinson, Andy. He's a guy who's not really been talked about an awful lot over the course of the season, but in the last kind of 3-4 weeks, he seems to have kind of come into his own a bit. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. He seems to. McVay's obviously played him a lot more, given him a lot more chances, and he has flashed, good consistency at times. The only worrying thing that worries me with the guy is it seems to be all of Stafford's interceptions that he's had. I think all of them were targeting Robinson, and they were kind of a bit off. But he has done a good chunk over the last few weeks, and with the part where we are in the season now, that is, another player that can potentially step up and help win us a game. So if he's confident, then it's another weapon to add that we can use against teams, because teams aren't going to have the tape to be able to say, well, when he does this, he's going to break left or right or do stop and come back for the ball. There's not much tape on the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be McVeigh has actually sort of figured out what he's doing with them at long last. Obviously, Tutu being injured opened that space for him to be able to.
Yep. Flipping over to the Saints game, like I kind of mentioned, with the Commanders game, you mentioned it as well, like kind of taking the foot off the gas. I mean, we were like putting the Saints away, like going into the fourth quarter, we're 27-7 up. I guess in one respect you can take the foot off the gas, but not when you concede 15 points in the last quarter. Again, that bringing it to that point, and it's close enough that they could snatch a victory off us. And I think the reason why I'm kind of sounds a bit anxious about talking like stuff like despite the victories is because of the kicking game. Because let's be honest, he's gone now, Haversick's away. Granted, we brought Mayer back, who wasn't the most reliable, but we've not had a reliable kicker to be able to go out there and know that, well, if we have to get a field goal to put the game away or win the game, we've not got someone who can do that for us. So there's a lot more pressure on basically the likes of Stafford to either go for two or get them in the offense. Do you think that's been a kind of a big factor into how the Commanders and the Saints games kind of ended up with that kind of late resurgence?
Yeah, I think it was, if I remember correctly. We missed a field goal, and then that sort of buoyed the Saints to sort of come back and give us a fight. But again, it was the defense, especially defensive backs, were just letting the guys run all over them. Chris Olave, 123 yards, Raheed Shaheed, 70 yards, A.T. Perry had one catch for 35 yards. Again, they were just torching us. They were torching our secondary again, and this is the worrying thing: is if you've got to you've got to go one-on-one against somebody. You can't double team all of the wide receivers, and it was literally the Saints were doing it for that final quarter. It was like whoever's a single covered guy one-on-one, we're just going to target the guy and put it, drop some bombs on him. And that was Derek Carr is not renowned for he's checked down Carr for a reason, but he was launching balls 40 yards down the field against us because he knew our DBs weren't hanging. So if someone like Derek Carr, Jacoby Brissett can do that to us, what is a more competent quarterback that we're potentially likely to face coming up? It's going to tear us to pieces. And it's out there on tape now for the past few weeks.
Yeah, and I think, with just me saying about like a good quarterback, I mean, I suppose if you kind of dial it back to the Ravens game, you can see what the likes of like someone like Lamar Jackson can do against the secondary. So, I mean, like you said, not even just last few weeks, it's there in tape in general across the whole of the season. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. We've said it time and time again, the secondary is essentially there for the taking. You can throw the deep ball against us.
Yeah. Unless the pass rush is good and gets home within like 2 seconds flat.
Yeah.
We're leaving them wide open and exposed. And yet we've made some plays, but we've also, if you marry it up, there's a lot more negative than positive from the secondary.
Yeah, unfortunately, isn't that? And it's a shame to say that when guys like Witherspoon have been a great addition to our roster over the season. There has been positives, but like you said, unfortunately, with our secondary, the negatives outweigh that for us. Just going back to you saying about kind of some of the Saints players kind of running riot against us. Let's flip the coin here. Kyren Williams again running riot, 104 yards, but your man, and if he doesn't get it now, it's a travesty. Your offensive rookie of the year, Puka Nacua, 164 yards off in 9 catches. Yeah. Jesus Christ, man. I mean, what is it they're saying? He's only and this is before even like talk about the Giants game. He's only something like 28 or 29 yards away from the record now in 4 catches.
Yeah, 4 catches and 28 yards or something like that from the rookie
It's
record for
just
everything.
phenomenal, and like it's. When we came out, when the Kapuka hype, began at the start of the season, we thought when Cup came back, it was said, right, well, maybe it's going to kind of die down now because Cup's back, kind of game will play. No, like he's just consistent like that. And I mean the sevens this week, we'll talk about later, where he's been selected to the Pro Bowl. Like, but it there doesn't seem to be much stopping Nakua. Is there, Andy? Because you see some of the teams he's putting his yards up against, it's like he's capable of doing it against anyone, it seems.
Yeah, he is. The guy is a stud. There's no other way of putting it. He's
He's head and shoulders above all first round wide receivers.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
And Zay Flowers has been, pegged as like the best rookie receiver to, come out last year. The draft last year, but he's not.
No.
Just because he came in the first round doesn't mean he's, the best receiver there. Nakua's head and shoulders above the rest.
And this, unfortunately, I think is where the likes of Kobe Turner, Puka Nakua, even Byron Young, because they were drafted later, they're not going to really be on people's radars. I think Puka will be because of the sensational season he's had.
Mm-hmm.
But, the guy is a number 1 wide receiver. And, if this is what he's like in his rookie year, when, he is, like I previously said, I watched an analyst and he said the guy is still on his route run and his breaks a little bit unpolished and he doesn't run it as crisply as you'd expect.
Uh-huh.
So with another year of next year, could you imagine the devastation that guy could cause if he just cleans a few little bits up? It could be mental.
And the other thing is he's so humble as well because he keeps talking about like he's just so grateful, and he says every time he walks into the locker room and he sees Stafford and he sees Cup there, he's just like, Jesus, man, I get to play with these guys every day. I get to catch passes from him. I get to learn from someone as good as Cup. Like, the guy is just... He's and, like you said, like, if this is his rookie year, like, what's he going to be like in years to come? And it's one of those ones, like, at some point down the line, Cup will move on. Nakua is the next in line. He's primed and ready. It's just the same as
like stay healthy. That's my only worry with the guy. Yeah, because he did have the injury thing, coming out of college.
Yep, which is why he dropped.
Yeah, one of the reasons in his 40 time was pants, to be honest. But every week now he is on the injury report, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he's normally on the injury report for various little niggles. And it's just a worry that, the Giants game, he was thrown up in a bin on the sideline. It's kind of a little bit worrying of, and especially the way he runs, he's an angry runner. He just runs through people and, which can be good for, massive, he can turn a 6-yard catch into a 10, 12-yard catch because he'll just run, even drag people along behind him. But at some point, it worries me that the guy could get injured because of how he plays. But so far, touch wood, he's been healthy, and hopefully, he can stay that way.
Fingers crossed. And then that brings us on to the most recent game, where we edged out the Giants in New York. Thankfully, the only ball that was dropped there was the one in Times Square, Andy?
Yeah, but yes, this was the most worrying game of all. Is we let the Giants hang with us the whole game, and if it wasn't for a missed field goal, we'd have lost this game and potentially been out the playoff race at this point. It's just luck on our side but again, the kicking issues, mate. I think was it 8-9 points. I think got left behind from missed kicks. That is ridiculous. and a few, most of them weren't like, oh, just missed the post, or he was shanking them well and truly, off. It was ridiculous what the guy was doing. I think one of them nearly went out the left-hand side of the ground. It was like nearly in the corner of the feet. It went that shanked. And luckily, this was a point, I think, where the team finally realised,
enough's enough.
We're playoff bound. We cannot have the guy missing,
Nope.
extra points.
That's it.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure he had a field goal attempt, but according to ESPN, he never had a field goal attempt all game. But that was, I think, where we kept going for it on fourth down because we realised the guy wasn't going to make him, and you can't keep doing that.
No, you can't plan for that. That you've got to go for it all the time in fourth down, or just as we were saying before we came on the air tonight, folks. It's the extra points. It's one thing to miss a field goal, right? Because you're obviously more likely to be further out, so there's that kind of the accuracy needs to be on point to complete it. But to be missing extra points, I know it's not as they're not as close as they used to be. Where basically, what's the point of even kicking an extra point when it's like from the 2 or whatever it was? It's a bit further back now, but still, it's a straight shot up the middle. It's not. I don't want to say it's not difficult, right? Because kicking isn't exactly easy in general, but you know what I'm trying to say? It's not rocket science.
No, you should be automatic.
Yeah,
a kicker now in the NFL should be automatic. Anything 50 and below should be an automatic, basically a gimme. You can get away with it, if it's bad weather or anything. But I will say the whole setup has been weird for weeks. Obviously, we lost Alex Ward to injury, who was our long snapper.
Yeah,
and we've bringing people in to try and play. That it has been, that side of it has been off. And I think on one of them, Evans literally, I think practically had to leap about 10 foot in the air to catch the ball to try and get it down. How he managed to do it, I don't know, but the whole motion has been off for the last few weeks. But it's still not. Field goals should not, as you say, should be automatic. You should not be missing them, or maybe you can get away with maybe missing 1 or 2 in a season, but when you've for consistently now over the last number of weeks, and it was getting worse. It wasn't as if his kicking, his kicking progressively throughout the last 3-4 weeks has been getting worse and worse. And I think it was a case of you see the guy on the sideline. I think they highlighted him in the Giants game even before the game. And the commentators were saying the guy was missing every field goal he attempted in practice. He said he never made one in practice. And you could, and those guys are out there for like 15, 20 minutes, half an hour before the start of a game, practicing. So how many has he attempted and how many has he missed? And you could see on his sideline, his face was just dejected and severe lack of confidence. He had no confidence at all. And, kick is one of them things. As much as people say cornerbacks, wide receivers have got to have confidence, kickers have got to have the confidence as well, because if they're not confident, it's already in their mind, I've missed this before they've even struck it.
Yeah, because like you're saying, the confidence is critical to be a good kicker, because you need to be totally just cold as ice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that in the zone, that game focus. That I'm making this. And you can't have that down the back in your head, because all it takes is but you said,
but he'd be confident. He'd be like, "All right, I missed, but I'll make the next one. I'll make the next
exactly." And it's like, I'll make the next one for 10 yards back.
Yeah.
Whereas
it was just no.
It's like, no, I'm not gonna. And like you said, all it takes is the slightest, being off the slightest, and that kick is, it's out of the corner.
Yeah.
He's just.
Well, you could see with McVay, his decisions, commentary about, okay, well, it's a 45-yard field goal. It's fourth and 6. And McVay's like, no, we're going for it. On 4th and 6, we're going to go for it. But the problem is, if you then go for it, what happened in the Giants game, if you don't get it, you're handing the ball to the Giants there. And on some of them, they were their own 45 yards.
You give them good field position.
You're giving them short field advantage, because you've decided to go for it, because you've got no choice.
and that's where it has to be a complete. Well, I guess as it has been now this week, has to be a complete no-brainer that if you're having to play your offense like that and you can't actually turn around, send the kicker on at all in those kind of scenarios, it's different to go for it when you're like 4-1, 4-2. Maybe a push 3 yards, but like you said, 4th and 6. That's where like just. But maybe they'd have been better just getting the Evans just to punt it and just chuck it straight up into the air. You've seen the leg the guy's got on him. So I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter what the field position would have been, even if we were in there.
Quite a few times this season, he's been knocking them out of bounds inside the 5. So he's quite capable of pinning them back on their own.
Instead of like going for it.
Play the field game.
But like you said, we're a playoff team. Like you can't go into the playoffs without being able to turn it a kicker.
Yeah, at least with May, you kind of expecting he's going to make the majority of his extra points, and anything 45 yards and below, he's going to pretty much make it. That was one thing you will say about the guy. It was 50 and beyond that he was starting to struggle because obviously I just don't think he's got the leg anymore.
Yeah,
because of his age.
I think the other thing with Mayer is, and I think the hindsight is good with this because pre-bye, the offense wasn't really getting going as well as it has post-bye. So, like you're saying, Mayer was more likely to be having to kick from distance every time, whereas now our offense is properly going, that some of the kicks he'd be getting asked to make, he'll make comfortably. So maybe it's unfortunate we pulled the trigger on him when we did, because we could have been using him, and he would have been more reliable than Havrasik. But he's back in the team. We'll see how it goes, I guess.
This decision should have been made, to be honest, 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. We've been talking about it for weeks now, yeah.
Yeah, and this is something, you do have to, all right, Mason Crosby, maybe he won the competition against Mason Crosby, but that should have been all right. Crosby's out, but we're bringing somebody else on the practice squad for next week, and we're going to keep pushing the guy. Maybe, he maybe he played well that week because he was getting pushed because there was somebody staring over his shoulder to take his job. If that was the case, we should have been like, all right, Blankenship, Goggles, you're in this week. You're going to be on the practice squad to keep that pressure on the guy. Mayer, come back. You're on the practice squad to keep the pressure on.
Yeah.
That maybe should have been what was done by the team instead of, letting ride it out and hoping the guy could get it together. And like we said, he got worse and worse as the weeks went on.
Yep. Well, he's gone now.
Yeah.
We're back to Mayer. So we'll see. We'll kind of see how it goes with that. So following those 3 games, the Rams went 9-7, and as was reported after the game, the team playing on the tarmac at I think it was LaGuardia Airport. Newark was that? Okay. Newark, I knew it wasn't JFK. I couldn't mind if it was one or two. Sat on the tarmac because in the late window, the Steelers took on the Seahawks, and all the eyes were on this game because, depending on the result, the Rams could have clinched a playoff berth. And luckily for us, the Steelers done us a solid and actually saw the Rams Twitter account say, do you know what, we're good with that spot of the ball now, because the Seahawks fell to the Steelers and that clinched the playoff spot for us. So currently we're sitting here in week 18, 9-7, and the Rams are going to the playoffs, folks. Andy, thoughts?
Happy, but did not. I'm going to be honest. Never expected this in the beginning of the season at all. I think I had us down for 3 or 4 wins. I think, the predictions when we started the year.
Yeah, I looked at the predictions form we put out at the start of the year. We had 15 people that responded to it. Only one person said we'd have a winning record, and 3 people said they would make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, no, losing record, and said that the majority of those people said would be a top 5.
Yeah,
pick.
I
said it as well. I said it as well. I think that is 4 or 5 wins on the season. So I'll be honest and say I'm more than happy to have been proven wrong. I'll be more than happy eating my hat with this. It's been some ride this season because we're what?
Considering the bye week, we were what 3-6 and
3-6.
Yes, the season was looked over and done. We were finished.
6-1 post bye is just weird. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Andy, but I think technically we may be the informed team in the league.
Yeah, it's us and maybe the Ravens, and that's about it. To be honest, all the teams have been dropping points, and unfortunately, I suppose we'll have to say the Whiners as well as kind of in form-ish. Unfortunately.
But 6-1 post bye.
Yeah.
I remember us talking at the bye week and we were like, we'll maybe get 3 wins out of that, or like it could really go pear-shaped this. And I think at one point we were concerned and this was off the back of us losing in Green Bay, that we're like, we could fall to every team we've got going here.
Yeah, it was very much a case of we could win a load of these, or we're going to lose them all. It did very much feel like it was that bad. Even teams, we'd say we'd beat. We were like, I'm not sure we can beat anybody at the moment the way we're playing. Come the bye, but the bye I think came at the perfect time because it allowed this team to reset, sort itself out. Maybe allow a few players who were carrying a little bit of knocks like Stafford and etc. Give them another week on his thumb, to get back in. We've not looked back since, and I think a lot of NFC teams are going to be worried about us offensively, maybe not defensively, but if our offense can get going and our defense can just be competent, I'll say there isn't really a team now in the NFC that I'd be worried about playing. Obviously outside the Whiners, but I'm hoping we don't see them till maybe the championship game.
Yeah.
If things go our way, but honestly, I don't see. Detroit are very much like us. They've got pieces on the defense. Offensively, they can move, but their secondary is suspect, just like ours.
Yeah.
All the teams, Philadelphia, just I don't know what's going on with them. They've just fell apart.
Like a pack of cards, really.
Yeah, I think
a team that looked like a surefire number 1 like seed. They're now 6th seed.
I think age, especially on their D-backs is beginning to show up. Both of them are in the mid, early 30s now. Bradbury and Slay, and the linebackers are, not being funny, crap. So there's just chances for our team to hit that. We're not worried about them, and their offense is struggling. They don't seem to be able to get anything together at the moment either. So they don't worry me either.
Yep, just kind of looking at the playoff picture. We've not really properly talked about it, but I think that's because even at the last episode that we did, it was still a bit kind of we're pushing for the playoffs here, but like there's a lot needs to happen for us to make it, and a few weeks on it has. So like looking at the actual playoff picture now, so in the NFC, 5 of the 7 spots have been taken up. That lot are number 1 seed. They've got that locked in. The Cowboys are locked in. Number 2, 11-5. Lions locked in with the NFC North title wrapped up. They're 11-5. The Eagles are 11-5 as well. Sitting in the 5th seed, and we are currently sitting as the 6th seed. The 4th seed is up for grabs. Between the Bucks and the Packers are sitting there in the hunt now, both on 8-8. In the bubble are the Seahawks, Saints, Vikings, and Falcons. So I mean, like the Falcons and the Saints have still got a chance at taking the NFC South, and they would take.
I don't see Minnesota getting in with an 8-9 record if they win. I just don't see it myself.
They've got an 11% chance of making it if they win.
Yeah.
Falcons 35% chance, Saints 51, Seahawks 44, Packers and Buccaneers are basically they're in if they win, obviously. Buccaneers have got the Panthers. You've got to imagine that they'll beat Panthers and the Packers have got the Bears, and got to imagine they would beat them. Seahawks have got Cardinals.
I don't know. The
Saints,
Bears have been playing quite well recently.
Yeah.
Last few weeks. That might be a tougher game than people think. They seem to be figuring a few things out.
Yeah. It's interesting over in the NFC side, the AFC side. That like people are talking about the Steelers. You know, they're kind of in the hunt still. For because there's still there's 3 places up for grabs. So Ravens are number 1. Currently, Dolphins are 2, Chiefs 3, and the Browns are 5. Which is like that's the Browns being there is being talked about quite a bit because basically Joe Flacco has thrown more touchdowns in the few weeks he's played for the Browns than the Jets have all season. And he's now being talked about between him and Hamlin for comeback player of the year. Because basically he came off the couch and got them into the playoffs. And I mean, I might have only played like several games or whatever, but I can kind of see the logic in why that conversation would come up. But
I think when you look at it, has DeMar Hamlin actually even played a game this year? I don't think he has. I think he's only ever been. He's
not dead. Basically, he's not dead. That's why they're considering it. Like,
I thought comeback player of the year is you're supposed to actually play the game.
Exactly. Well, that's it. I mean, like
maybe
some
the
people
Bills
a couple
will
weeks
throw him
ago. Yeah, maybe. I mean, Stafford got kind of thrown in the hat for that the week before last they were talking about him because they were like, well, he had all these concussions, had these injuries last year. He basically wasn't the Stafford that everyone knows. Whereas this year he's shown that he's fully capable of still being 2021 Matthew Stafford.
I think the Giants game has took him out of that race because of how badly he played. I think that's kind of took him out of that radar now.
Listen, it's fine. I don't really mind with that anyway. Like I said, I can see the logic in why if they want to give it to Flacco, I can see the logic in why the guy was retired, came off the couch, and has basically helped the Browns get to the playoffs.
Yep.
So I can see that. But yeah, so the Browns are sitting 5th in the AFC. In the hunt's the Jags, the Bills and the Colts. Jags have got the Titans. Bills have got the Dolphins, and Colts have got the Texans. The Texans are also in the hunt. So basically, whoever wins out the Texans and Colts is in. Yeah. Steelers, they've only got a 66% chance if they win against the North line and stuff elsewhere. But as it stands, with us being 6, we travel to Detroit as it stands in the playoffs, which a lot of people are saying is probably the playoff game. No, I don't mean Rams fans. I mean people in general here, folks. That is the game that they would want to see the Rams play because you've got that whole Stafford going back to Detroit, narrative.
You've got the Stafford going to Detroit, Goff playing off against his former team.
Yeah.
It would be quite an interesting game to see.
I'm just going to get Jake Ellenbogen. I'm sure he put up a great. He had all the scenarios actually. I think it was yesterday of what needs to happen for the Rams to play. Whoever it was. I'm trying to see if I can get his account up here. I'm on my son's laptop, so this might not actually work. But basically, like, by the way that we'll come to it when we're going to talk about the game this week. But let's be honest here, folks, we might not be number 6 come the end of Sunday.
Very much doubt I'll be very surprised if we stay number 6.
Yeah, because which would mean, as it stands, we're going to Dallas again.
Again, Dallas don't worry me because Dak in
it's
playoffs.
Playoff, right enough.
Yeah, Dak and playoffs don't go well together.
Yeah, I suppose the Cowboys are just they're a regular season team. They're not a playoff team.
No, they don't tend to. But I mean, I can't remember who's Dallas got this week.
They have
Commanders.
Washington.
So there's a chance they can, sneak a win there, and Detroit. We could still face Detroit if Detroit can win this week against the Vikings. Funny enough, they're playing the Vikings, which I don't see them losing unless they decide to bench all their starters.
Aye.
You know, so that could potentially, it could be we end up where they're 2, we're 7. It could still happen.
Could happen. There is a possibility we could be going to Philadelphia as well.
Again, that doesn't, with how bad Philly are at the moment, it doesn't worry me. They don't worry me.
It's that tush push that worries me.
Yeah, but the thing is, you just don't let them get into that position. End of. Just don't let them get to that position.
Easier said than done with our
It's
secondary,
easier said
though.
than done, but at the end of the day,
Aye.
as teams have been proven, just don't let them get into 3rd and 1.
Yeah. Well, the Eagles have got the Giants this week.
That's what I say, that could, with how bad Philly are playing, that could be a bit of a spicy game as well. Division rivalry. The Giants do tend to, much like the Commanders, they'll not win all season and then they'll play well against the Eagles and the Cowboys because division rivalry games.
And it's nuts because the Cowboys and Eagles being 2-5, they could literally flip each other here. With this last game. And then just say it would be like the Buck. I guess it'd probably be the Bucks. They would then play, the Cowboys. As it kind of is standing at the moment. Because let's be honest, here, the Bucks are playing the Panthers, so that's pretty much a surefire win, I'd say there. So I mean, it's looking at like you're saying, the Packers beat the Bears. They'll be in at number 7, so they'll be they as it stands, they'll be going to Dallas. I guess, unless the Cowboys lose, that is.
Yeah, like I say, it's very much the NFC is still up on the air of who's playing who, and But like I say, outside, unfortunately, the Winers, no team worries me in the NFC. I feel like we could be on our day if everything goes our way and we're playing, our offense plays like it has outside of outside the Giants game. I feel that we could.
Well, I suppose let's dial it back to the Ravens game. The Ravens are obviously number 1 seed in the AFC right now. They are, I would say, a good. Yeah, they're a good example for us to kind of post by. Because let's look at it this way, folks. We played the 49ers. I named them. Played them. We played the Cowboys. We played the Eagles. Pre-bye, not post-bye. So maybe, like you're saying, Andy, our perception of how we would perform against those teams is based off of when the offense wasn't really going anywhere and when the team wasn't, where it is now. Whereas now, being 6-1 post-bye, and it doesn't, you can only beat who's in front of you, right? So, no one give it the, but you played this, that team. You said the Eagles they're on the downward. Now, the Cowboys, like you said, when it hits the postseason, they're not a postseason team. And then, like you said, the only team to worry about would be that lot. And
even that lot in week 2, it was a touchdown game to
it was
things went our way. We were going to win it.
Exactly, it wasn't that far off.
No.
I know we got annihilated in Dallas, and the Eagles basically pushed their way to victory against us. But that was then. This isn't now. Where Cup wasn't playing in those games, so he didn't have the Cup and the core threat that we've got now. Matthew Stafford was still showing signs of, is he injured or not? Don't know. And
Dotson didn't play the Winers game, and he didn't play the Eagles game. I think it was after the Eagles that he came in against the Cardinals.
That's it.
So that's another player on who could potentially stop their pass rush. From being effective. But we'll get on to Dotson in a minute once we get to another section of the podcast.
Yeah.
But he wasn't playing at the time, so it's another piece that you can add in that would shore up.
Yeah, well, that's
it. And give Stafford a bit more time to throw as well.
Yeah, so just to kind of summarise that, I think we need to just try and keep ourselves focused on the post-bye version of the Rams that we've got this year, because it's 2 completely different teams we are talking about here.
We've basically gone the opposite way from when we won the Super Bowl, where we were started off hot, then we had that month of no wins, no win November, and then we hit form in the right time. We've gone the opposite this time. We started off slow and then hit the bye and then come out the bye, and we've basically been firing reasonably on all cylinders. The Giants game was a bit of a misnomer because we seemed to, fall apart. But it was, we were steaming into leads and then sort of taking off. The closeness of the game was down to our own doing, not because of teams, dominating us. It was, we took our foot off and we sort of like, we've won this game. Let's relax. Yeah. Which you would expect the Rams in the postseason not to fall into that trap. It would be a case of we've got to keep going no matter what.
Yep, until the clock hits 0.
Yeah.
Well, it's only 1 week to go, so I guess it'll be finalised next week, and we'll talk about that more. But it's still absolute surreal for me, and I'm sure it is for yourself, Andy, to be sitting here and actually, we're not talking about the playoffs as a whole. We're talking about the Rams in the playoffs, and we're talking about potential opponents here, and that's not trying to get ahead of ourselves. That's just being real and look, because the NFC, apart from them, is still that open that. We could be playing almost anybody.
Yeah, we could be playing either list, depending on what happens.
Yeah, so that's why we're talking about everyone here. There's 3 teams we could be playing, week after next. So, but yeah, it's just totally surreal. So we'll obviously come back to the playoff chat again next week. So just kind of moving on. Not really wanting to talk about what's happening elsewhere, because I guess playoffs is what we're talking about happening elsewhere. In the league, but let's talk about things happening elsewhere within the team. And the first one is the Pro Bowl announcement came out in the last day. Matthew Stafford, Kyren Williams, Puka Nacua, and Aaron Donald have been selected as starters for the NFC. Andy, first of all, it's 4 guys you would have expected to get picked, or did you think that? Would take Puka, for example. Did you think he was and Kyren, they were outside bets to get in?
I think Puka was a definite in getting in. There's no way he could not be in. To be honest, the 2 that I'm surprised aren't in there is Kevin Dotson and, to be honest, Akello Witherspoon. How that, especially more so Dotson, how Dotson, when he's the number 1 rated guard in the entire NFL at the moment, is not a Pro Bowl player is a crime to me.
Because they seem to love the O-line, the Eagles. That's why.
Well, it's one of them, Joel Bitonio. I don't think he's played half the season because he's been injured. How's he getting in? And yet Dotson, who from week 6 or whatever it was he came in, has just been consistent, top 5 guard in the league throughout the whole year. It's just ridiculous.
Not just that, for a guard who is not known to be good for run blocking, to be one of the best run blockers in the league this year. Like, the guy is he's having his best year for us. And, we've said it a few times, the guy's been, along with Avia, has been like, they're not missing piece of puzzle, but they've been strong pieces to the puzzle to, shore up that offensive line that's allowed the likes of Stafford to get time on the ball, to make the plays he's been making, to actually read defenses, watch plays develop, and actually allow guys to run their routes, but also Kyren Williams to absolutely blaze the trail on the ground and actually have a running game. I mean, you're going back to what you're going back years since the Rams last had a running back. That we could say, well, we've got a running game, let alone, having guys, at the running back position be in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. It's nuts. But like I say, that guy, sorry, he should be in there, mate. He should have been, the first guard in the whole list. Yeah. And he's not, and it's just like a complete travesty, if you ask me personally. I just can't believe it. I genuinely just cannot believe the guy's not in. And it's ridiculous that he's not.
I mean, I don't even know how you put it down to how when the kind of like the press, and analysts are like actively posting about how well this guy's been doing this year, how he doesn't get picked.
I mean, Zach Martin, Chris Lindstrom, and Landon Dickerson are the guards that have been selected. I'm sorry, I don't feel any of them, maybe outside of Zach Martin, are better than Dotson. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. I really genuinely don't see it. But, it's
It's always a
ridiculous.
popularity game, isn't
It
it?
always has been a popularity, to be honest, and this is something I've seen, no offense, people fighting against, biting back, is how's Aaron Donald in it? He's not the best defensive tackle anymore.
Aye.
It's a popularity contest. He's only there because of his name, which
He's
I think
not.
when you look at his sack stats, is what people look at and go, "Oh, he's not that many." But it's everything else that he does.
Yeah, because like as a defensive, like D lineman or like a linebacker, you're measured only in your sacks.
No, it's
Like
not. It's
that
everything else.
irritates me as well. That people look at that sack stat and think that's what makes a good defenseman. Absolutely not.
No, exactly. It's not. It's everything else he does outside of that makes it him what he is.
Yeah.
The fact he's eating double, triple, quadruple teams. Every single snap. Tackles for loss that he's doing. Everything. He's got 3 passes defended this year. That's as many as some of our safeties have got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I can understand. To me, it's just like I say, it's a travesty for me that Dotson isn't in, and I think he even acknowledged himself. Well, okay, I didn't get in this year after my best year. I'll just keep going. Yeah, which is, I think, the right. I think it was on Instagram. He put, a thing up. So hopefully, maybe this has given him, a little bit of a right. I'll prove next. Now that
Maybe, yeah.
yeah, and hopefully that'll be with us because
Fingers
obviously
crossed.
his
Fingers
contract's
crossed. Yeah.
due up at the end of the season. The end
But
of contract year.
there's another man. You didn't mention him, but I'm going to mention him that wasn't in the Pro Bowl discussion. But there's a discussion that's came up in the last few days about where he should be this year, and we've been talking about all season about like Puka being Defensive Rookie of the Year, but let's talk Kobe Turner, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Andy, is Turner worthy of this accolade this year?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Especially over the last since the bye, especially he's been quite a big force.
Well, he leads rookies in his position.
Yeah, exactly. But again, my worry is that he's because he's not a first round pick like Will Anderson. Unfortunately, he ain't gonna get it.
Yeah, and
Much like unfortunately for Puka for offensive rookie of the year, I have a horrible feeling because he's not a quarterback. He's not gonna get it.
but yeah, what's that?
For me, yeah, Kobe Turner should be up there in the discussions, certainly, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, he's basically like I'll actually maybe start referring to him as AD Light because right now, as a rookie, that's what he is to me. This guy is potentially like someone who will step into Aaron Donald's shoes for me down the line here. His nickname is the conductor, and the guy is just he is potentially another stud there. And again, it's like you say, it's these late. The Rams seem to be really good at picking out these late round gems. You've got Kyron Williams as well. It's a 5th rounder.
Yeah.
And the guy is he's set as his second or I can't remember if he's second or third in the rushing yards now behind McCaffrey. For a guy that had never started, he never started a game last year.
Yeah.
And he was in IR as well for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
This year as well.
Yeah.
Like that's absolutely phenomenal. Imagine if he wasn't in IR, how good he could have been this year.
Yeah, exactly. The guy would have been. Yeah, he's second.
Second
by about 80 yards. Next one's James Cook behind him at 1,000.
How many yards was he behind McCaffrey? Just out of interest.
315 yards behind him. So it's
so if he didn't go in IR, Kyron Williams would have been.
He could be up there with McCaffrey. He could potentially be up there with McCaffrey. But he's not far off. He's not far off there. And another Puka is currently 4th in receiving yards in the whole league. He's only 2 yards behind 3rd place, which is AJ Brown. So,
it's nuts considering this. I think 2023 is going to go down as the surreal season because we all expected to tank it. Everyone had written us off. And yet we've got, like you said, we've got Kyron Williams, we've got Puka Nacua, we've got Kobe Turner, absolutely lighting up. I know Williams isn't a rookie, right? But it's his first proper year where he's starting. But these guys that are really young, hungry and like later round picks, and they've just totally blown other guys out the water that were taking like higher up in the draft.
Well, I think another one we do need to mention that we never actually mentioned for the Pro Bowl is Ernest Jones. How's he not got into the Pro Bowl?
Well, he overtook James Laurinaitis, did he not, this week?
Yep.
So, yeah, there's another one.
Yeah, the interior linebackers are Fred Warner. Okay, I'll give him that. He's a damn good player, unfortunately.
Wagner?
And Wagner's the other one. Again, popularity contest.
Yeah,
Jones shouldn't. Don't get me wrong, I agree. Fred Warner should be. I think Fred Warner is the best, unfortunately, interior linebacker in the NFL. But Ernest Jones should have been the number 2 right behind him in there for the Pro Bowl.
It's just sorry, but it's the name.
Ernest Jones is a beast this year. I think he took what that year he had with Bobby Wagner. He's took it all in. He's learned and he's come. But again, another late round draft pick. It was Jones' 2nd or 3rd round, I think. I think it was 3rd round when we picked him. So it's like, how can you tell me that this guy's not in there? All right, but actually, in fairness, Bobby Wagner does have 168 tackles, so I suppose we can't really. But in terms of everything else he does, for me, he's better in coverage. He's better, he's better at most things compared to, personally, he's another one actually that should have been in the Pro Bowl. Personally, is Ernest Jones.
Well, that's that. I mean, saying that, Jones is down for a. Let's see what's he got here. My math's terrible. 145 tackles in the year.
Yeah, so he's not far behind. 105th place in tackles is Roquan Smith, and that's 158. So he's not that far behind him.
Yeah.
So it's annoying me now. Where do we draft the guy? When do we draft him?
Got his stats page open here and I can't see it.
Again, another 3rd round pick. He's another 3rd round pick. And so I say we do seem to pick well in those sort of 3rd, 4th, and occasionally in the 5th round. But you look at players who we've let go. Sebastian Joseph Day played well for us. Greg Gaines played well for us. There's lots of players but we've let go.
Yeah.
Who have been those sort of mid 3rd, 4th round picks that have played out well for us. So we seem to do have an eye for the sort of mid round talents. But like you say, mate, no, go back. Kobe Turner, as far as I'm concerned, should be. And to be honest, I'd even put Byron Young in the conversation.
That's not one that's
for a guy that, for an older guy who was basically late into football because of his situation and was working as a manager, to do what he's done as a rookie is, promising.
Yeah. But I suppose
one more sack, and if Turner plays and gets 1 sack, he'll be in double digits for the year. So how he should be, definitely in the conversation, and to be honest, probably really should win it. But like I say, unfortunately, I don't.
He won't win it because he's a lower round pick, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been an absolute travesty.
Yeah, and that's what worries me for Puka, as much as he's kicked, everything this year. I think, unfortunately, CJ Stroud, because he's a quarterback, first-round quarterback, is basically going to win it.
But how long has Stroud been out now?
I think he played last week, didn't he?
Nope.
He came back last week. I'm sure he did. I might be
Well,
wrong.
I'm not going to come on at fantasy football, but I had 0 points for him as my quarterback. So nope, he didn't play last week.
Or did he come in and then go back out? Hang on, let me have
Probably went in back out. I'm trying to see.
no, CJ Stroud played.
He did play. Sorry, he did play. You're right.
Yeah,
I think I had 0 points on him.
213 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions.
So he came back after a few weeks, about 3 weeks out. Then
Yeah, he had about 3 weeks out with
I
concussion.
mean, granted, he has been a a good rookie quarterback, but he's not breaking records.
No, he's not. He's not. No, and I do think if Puka can break that record, it's kind of they cannot give it to. If they don't give it to him, if he breaks the records, then sorry, it's clearly a fix, and you may as well rename it to offensive rookie quarterback of the year.
Well, that's that, yeah. Because
MVP's that already.
Yeah, well, we've seen that like a couple of years ago with Cup. With his season, like everyone's saying, like Cup's got to be MVP, and then they didn't give him it because he's not a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. It seems to be MVP is the quarterback award, and then offensive player of the year is anyone else.
Well, that's it. But like in that season, Cup did get offensive player of the year, so I would like to hope that well, he only needs, like you said, 20 yards. It was in 4 catches. That's all Puka needs. It's like get him 30-yard catch, get him a couple of yard catches so he gets the record, then get him off. That's it. He's taking the record. That's that.
I have a feeling that is the team's plan.
Yeah,
they're not benching
get
him.
Puka the ball quick, get him off.
It'll just be right. Wentz, look for Cup to confuse them. Go to Nakua. Let's get these 4 catches. Let's get him the 20-odd yards, and then we'll pull on the guy, and he can sit for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But then again, would Puka want that, or would Puka want to just torch the record and try and go for another, beat it by 100 yards and 5 other catches? You just don't know with the guy, do you? He seems that sort of guy. He'll be like, I don't want to come out the game. I want to keep playing. Yeah,
but got to have a sensible head on here, which is what we, I guess, seem to have. Which this kind of now brings us into week 18, or final week of this regular season, folks, as we travel to the Denham Stadium to take that lot on. Games 9:25. It's not in Sky Sports. As you can see there, our kind of form against them is 1-4, but that one was the most important one of all. So they can win all the fucking regular season games they want, but they couldn't put us away when it mattered.
Yeah,
but yes, Andy, you've touched upon it there. So a lot of guys are kind of going to be rested this year. Stafford's also not playing. We're going to see Carson Wentz as our starting quarterback, and you said I didn't realise Dresser Wynn had been brought back in. He'll be his backup basically. Cup has been rested. Donald's been rested. I don't know. I didn't see is Williams being rested, or is he?
Yeah, I think he is being rested. Yeah.
Good, because we've got a running game going, so we kind of need that. But yeah, Andy, how are you feeling about this game, knowing that it's I mean, it's not meaningless, but it kind of is, if that makes sense.
This game for me now is just, let's get in there, get it over and done with, walk away with no injuries, and I'm happy. Basically. Yeah, as much as, that we will still unfortunately have to play a lot of our starters, that's just the way it is. But,
the key guys.
Yeah, the key guys are getting rested.
Puka and Williams, the exceptions there.
Like I say, Williams isn't going to be playing. They're expecting the backfield to be a combination of Evans, Freeman as the backfield this week. So, that's good.
I'd expect that Williams will suit up, but not necessarily play, like you're saying.
No, I think Maveya has said he's out. He's not playing.
Is he? Right.
Yeah, I think he's basically said Stafford, Donald, Williams, Cup are not going to even be dressed. I'm not even sure if he said, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he might have even said they're not going to travel this week.
All right, well, good.
So, I think that's his plan, is they're not even potentially going to even travel to the game. But, I think, again, it's a good chance, I think, for some of the younger players and fringe players to get some game time, just in case, because anything can happen in the playoffs. And for some of the younger guys, I think they're expecting even Havenstein's not going to start. So it'll be, McClendon, Warren McClendon, the rookie,
Right.
is potentially going to start at right tackle. So again, it's good game experience for the guy. And, it'll be interesting to see. I've not seen the Winers, so I don't know whether they're starting there because they've clinched the 1 seed. I can't remember if they're
I've
starting.
just seen that Darnold will be starting for them.
Yeah.
That's all I've seen.
So, I'm assuming they're going to be resting players as well. So,
Yeah,
but, it'll still be a good chance for some of these guys, younger guys, fringe players, to get on the field, get some meaningful game reps in an actual game environment, and then, again, maybe put something on tape for next season for the team to look at and go, well, actually, we may not need to draft X, Y, or sign X, Y, and Z because this lad, all right, played well in the game, so he's maybe going to get a chance next year to show what he can do.
I mean, I've seen some people like basically saying, "Oh, this is McVay settling for number 7," and I don't necessarily see a case of settling for number 7. I think what he's done is he's weighed up all the kind of possibilities here. So we could go out and we could start everyone as normal to win the game, but we could end up with a tougher game the following week. Whereas
I don't think it's much that. It's injuries as well.
Well, that's what I was going to say. These spot like rest the guys. I don't have to risk, like Stafford or whatnot, picking up an injury and then it messes up for the playoffs. And the way it could work out is we could end up 7th, but have what would be an easier game for us, even though it's the number 2 seeds. It might be to us, which says, well, we can plan better against whoever it is than if it was that team.
I can see some people are arguing that they shouldn't be doing this because of the rest period they get in between the games. It can sometimes put players out of sync, because I think somebody did highlight we did this I think the year before we went to the Super Bowl the first time, and we rested a bunch of players, and then we came out and against Atlanta and got absolutely thumped, and the team just looked off for the whole game because they looked like they were out of sync with everything. So I can see some people have been arguing it's not a good idea to do this because but you've got, I suppose you've got to weigh it up what is best for everybody.
Well, let's weigh it up another way. Look at what happened in Green Bay with the bye week, and look at the Rams when we came back.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean that's the point I would put back to it.
Yeah,
I get what people I get the point that's been made, but we've got a precedent this year. Looking at the bye week. The bye week is your example of everyone's rested for the week.
Yeah.
I
can see the argument of you taking players out of the sync, out the stride, and but I can also see the other side of it as, well, is it really? We've clinched playoffs. It's not as if we're fighting for the playoffs and we've decided, well, we'll rest and see what happens. It's a case of we're in the playoffs. It doesn't matter now. We weren't expected to be there anyway. Does it matter who we play?
And I think the other thing is, I think it's look at it from the perspective of the likes of McVay and even probably the back office guys as well, I guess, to an extent. We've made the playoffs when we've not expected to, but they obviously fancy their chances to cause an upset or two here.
Well, exactly. And, I've even seen, I can't remember his first name, but something Scott, he's an NFL analyst, has basically said the team he would not want to play in the playoffs is the Rams.
Yeah.
He said, everyone's it's not Cowboys, it's not the Eagles, it's the Rams because of...
We're 6-1, in the last 7 weeks.
And
the only team to beat us was the Ravens.
Yeah, as he said, they're a team who nobody expected to be there.
Yeah.
They're playing well offensively. Outside of the Giants game, he said they've played very, very well. And he said, they've got nothing to lose. It's not as if a few years ago where it was like, Super Bowls at our home stadium. We've built this super, not being funny, a super team. Your Jalen, everything else. We've got all the superstars in F the picks moment.
To win it.
We've got to win it now, or it's all finished. He said
Yep.
they've got none of that pressure. It's just a case of we're in the playoffs. Whatever happens, happens.
And you know what they say, Andy? The people/teams with nothing to lose are the most dangerous people to come up against. And you don't want to face someone who's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, we could go out there, cause an upset or two, and all of a sudden it's a championship game, and all of a sudden, we're instead of 3 games to get to that championship game, 4 games, and you're in the Super Bowl. It's not as much as it may seem far fetched with how the team is. You look at it; it's only 4 more games, and we could potentially be back in a Super Bowl. And that is.
I think it's a fair one to say that we're a dark horse here.
Yeah, we're the dark horse. We are definitely, but I think analysts and people are starting to wake up and realise that
they've been sleeping on this.
It's not so much that; it's just Rams at the moment are not a team you want to be playing because of. Yeah, we have our defensive weaknesses, but when our offense is firing, we can keep up with anybody.
Look at the Ravens game. Look at the Ravens game
against the Ravens. We can keep up with anybody when our offense is firing. And
that's that. Our offense gets firing all cylinders, and like you said, even if the defense just plays competently, then
if we have a competent game like we had in parts of the season before, this, when we were, 14 points against Arizona, 19 points against Cleveland, our defense looked comfortable. It wasn't as if we were all of a sudden, oh crap, a lot of it again was garbage time, 4th quarter touchdowns and stuff when we had taken our foot. But before that point, we were very much, and if we can get that defense for 4 quarters of a game in the playoffs, and our offense can fire like it did, and Stafford can be turnover free, which up until the Giants game he very much was. He'd only thrown 1 interception since the bye week up until the Giants game. We are a scary team for some teams to go up against, especially when, like I say, other teams are struggling at the moment. Teams are struggling where we're firing.
Well, that's it. So, like other teams, like you're saying, they're kind of in the downward, whereas we're still going up and up here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with this one on Sunday, again with that, like, who knows?
Yeah.
Really, we pushed them like so close early in the season, and that was when we weren't playing well.
Yeah.
On one side, it's a shame that we're resting all these guys because I would fancy us for the win, but I get the logic and why, because obviously they don't want anyone picking up injuries because there's a good chance we could cause an upset or 2 here along the way. And like you said, it's only 4 more games potentially here. So it's like you win 1, well that's 3. And depending on how our games go, we'll say, well, fancy our chances a bit more based on who's left. And you could be then sitting there and says, well, Christ, we're in the NFC Championship game now. How did we get here? And it's like, it's 1 more game. 1 more game and then we're at the big one.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, it's a free hit for another ring. Because that's the way you would look at it. You would like you said the last time round, it's like we have to win it now. We must win it now. The stars are all in line. We've got the team. It's at our own stadium, for Christ's sake. We have to win it now. And we did. Whereas if we somehow got there to be like, well, we've nothing to lose. It's a free hit. We win it. We win it. We don't win it. We expected to be drafting like number 1 this year, whereas we've just lost the Super Bowl. You'd be like, we're all saying like it's a successful year because we've made the playoffs, but like it's crazy to think that we'll take it 1 week at a time, obviously. But
if things go our way,
and
we get maybe just that little bit of luck as well, it isn't as far fetched. I can't remember what seed were we when we won the Super Bowl. I think we were like 6th or 7th then.
But we won. No, we were top 4 because we won our division. Remember, we
Yeah.
lost to them at home, but because of results elsewhere, we won the division.
So yeah, I know we won the division, but I think we weren't a high one then. I
No,
think the first Super Bowl we won again, or was it the very first Super Bowl we won that we were a lower? I know it was one of them. We were a bit lower down the pecking order, but like I say, it's
the
get
last
the playoffs.
wild card team to win the Super Bowl from the lowest kind of like 6/7 was the Bucks a couple of years ago. They've been saying that a lot, and that they've been making that comparison to us.
Yeah,
Eh,
like I say, it's 4 games, and then potentially, the 4th game is the Super Bowl, and playoffs, anything can happen. Injuries are still a thing. If a team loses an important player,
we were 4th seed the last time.
where we? Oh, I thought we were a bit lower than that, but
Right, and just checking the year. So, yeah, we were 4th because we ended up hosting the NFC Championship game against them, who were the wild card team. And I thought we were 1 or 2. I'm sure we were. We were the number 1 seed the first time we won it.
Well, like I say, it's
it's not like you say, it's not far fetched to think about that kind of stuff now.
No, it isn't. Maybe I'm getting a little bit far ahead of myself, but we're not. The realms of it's 4 more games.
I don't think anyone would grudge you for it, though, mate.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would grudge you for it because we didn't expect to be in the playoffs. So,
like you said, bye week.
Why not, Jim? Just that wee bit more.
Yeah, bye week. We were talking about who we'll have to start thinking about who we're going to draft with the top 3-4 pick.
I know. I'm pretty sure you were talking about says I'll start doing analysis about who the best prospects are for us outside.
Yeah, I'll have to completely rewrite that because it's like we're not getting any of the ones selected unless we trade up. Like I say, but now we're 4 games and potentially we could be back in another Super Bowl, and what a fairy tale that would be.
It would, yeah. Do you know? It actually would, and it would be one of those ones.
It would be a better win than what we've. Obviously we won the last one, but I think it would be a better Super Bowl for us to, because of the fact that we've gone in with a bunch of rookies and late round draft picks and street players, and basically done it all.
I have to agree with you there. Yeah, like when we last year we'd kind of asked people. In fact, no, it was the 100th episode. I'd asked all you guys like what Super Bowl win was the bigger one, and you all said basically Sofi Super Bowl because we won it at home. Whereas, like you're saying now, if we somehow won it this year, if that question was reposed, you would say hands down this year, because the team was absolutely gutted apart. We got all these like young guys, all these rookies, all these undrafted free agents, and somehow, I mean, and I wouldn't grudge them, right? So let's just talk hypothetically here that the Rams somehow win in Vegas. I wouldn't grudge McVay if he turned around the next day and said he was retiring, because I don't think he could top that. If he done it this season, I don't think he could top that, and I would be quite happy to let him walk off into the sunset because it's like he's for me that. But this is other thing, so I might bring this up as well. Sean McVay, Coach of the Year, yes or no?
Yep. With what he's done with
exactly
for a team that has basically, like we said, the analysts had us down as the 31st best team in the league. At the start of the year, and we were, it was us in Arizona, basically 32-31. For us to be in, just making the playoffs. The guy is,
he's done wonders.
I do think, we have to shout out a little bit of praise for LaFleur as well, who seems to have come in, made a few changes to help, put a few wrinkles in the playbook, and seems to be working, because we were never an inside tackle run team. We have predominantly this season been an inside the tackles run team with Kyron Williams for a lot of it. We are still doing some wide zone stretch stuff, but the majority of it has been between the guards and the tackles, and basically downhill power running.
Yep. And also on that, like Raheem Morris as well, because considering how, like a lot of the kind of criticism the defenses came in for, he's doing well with what he's got there, and we've not complained about him as much as we have. No. Even the year we won the Super Bowl, we hate him, we want rid of him, and yet here we're a couple down the line saying, do you know what, he's actually doing a pretty damn good job. We don't want to lose him now.
He's done a decent job. There are still some changes I'd like to change with him. I'd like to make, but again, I think it's down to the fact of he can't play the sort of defense he wants because he's limited by the fact of, no offense, the likes of Darian Kendrick back there, and even Kobe Durant. He came in this week, and I'm not being funny, the guy didn't look anything special. He kind of looked a bit out of sorts and got absolutely torched. Quite a few times. So I think if he could get maybe a competent corner, back there, he could maybe play a bit more man press, jam guys on the line, and get in people's faces. He maybe then be able to change his defense around a little bit and, get a bit more. Because, even when we had Ramsey, it was Ramsey and nothing else really. Bit part players here and there, David Long Jr., and players like that who, so even then he wasn't able to play his full defensive style that he'd maybe want to play. So, it's going to be, but my worry is that we're going to lose a few of these guys in the off season.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not, mate. But we'll see. But it's just, so let's just wrap up for this Sunday. Win or loss?
Unfortunately, I think it'll be a loss, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I don't care.
I really couldn't give a shit what they do.
I'm actually in two minds whether I'm even going to watch the game, because I don't care now. It's I don't care. Let's just get to the playoffs now and let's see what we can do with the playoffs.
It's good. The game that matters, the running. So moving on, the last thing I want to kind of bring up this week, folks, is the culmination of the Sleep Deprivation Bowl Championship for 2023, a fantasy football competition. They were running on Sleeper. So we had 20 teams all in. The playoffs are now over. We have our conference champions. Santi 7 Chelsea won the McVeigh Conference, who I believe he comes from Uruguay. As I found out the other day. Didn't realise we had somebody from Uruguay on the Discord server as well.
Hello, Santi from Uruguay.
Thank you very much for taking part all the way over there in South America. I didn't realise that, because I'd messaged him to say, look, are we talking, if you won your conference, are we talking to Santi here? And he said, listen, thanks, appreciate it, but I live in Uruguay. And he said he's been following LA Rams UK for a good few years now, so thank you very much for your support, Santi, and for taking part, and congratulations on being the McVeigh Conference champion. Our Vermeil Conference champion is Mission and Golfable, who is Dave Posey. He won that conference, and if you remember, folks, as it's kind of a few weeks back, we would crown a bowl champion by taking the scores from the two conference champions, and with the one with the highest score, they'll become our bowl winner. And with a margin of 0.12 points, Mission and Golfable, aka Dave Posey, took home the Sleep Deprivation Bowl Championship, and I believe possibly arriving, it may have arrived today, but I know he said he was on night shifts. I might arrive tomorrow. The Sleep Deprivation Bowl itself is winging its way to Dave, and he said he'll post us a lovely picture with his trophy when he receives it. So that brings it to an end. Thank God, the fantasy football. You didn't come dead last, Andy. You're all right. I did. I came dead last in my conference in the end. I just didn't care once the regular season was over. I didn't even open up my team. I just logged out and logged in as the admin account just to see out the year. But thank God that season's over, eh?
Oh yes, yes. That's got, I think, the worst fantasy season I've ever had in my life ever.
Do you know the worst bit? See, for me, see, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, my Facebook memories, it popped up like from like 11 or 12 years ago, when I won a fantasy league I was in, and I went in the playoffs 6 and 8 as like the bottom seed, and I beat the third seed, then I beat the second seed, and then I beat the top seed to win it off a losing record. And it's like, to go from that to like seeing how fucking awful I am at now.
That's what I say. Last year I won mine. I won it. And this year it's just been complete and utter travesty. It's just like I had the 2022 Rams, mate. Everything I touched was just injury prone.
Oh well, you went with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, did you not?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Jefferson was my wide receiver one, and like I say, every player I drafted as replacements for injured players, they were like getting injured the same freaking week I drafted them, and it was just like I give up. In the end, I just give up.
It's over and done with now, mate. Our fantasy football competition will be back next year. We'll be sticking with Sleeper. We've got a hang of how this operates now, and it's much better from an administrative point of view, because we don't actually have to be in the league to run it, which is good. So we can basically just oversee it and manage it and let you guys just go at each other. We will look to improve the competition for next year. It was a great competition this year, even with myself coming last, being able to talk about it in the league, seeing how close the divisions were as well. There was a lot of fine margins in a lot of the games, so it was really good. And like, just want to say thank you to all the guys who took part in it this year, and hopefully sees there next year, and hopefully some more, because like I said, we'll be looking to maybe expand it a wee bit more, but we'll work that out in the close season. So thanks again for that, folks. Andy, is there anything else, mate, you want to talk about, bring up before we wrap up for the evening?
No, mate, don't think so. I think it's just, let's get this week out of the way now, injury free, and let's look forward to some playoff football. Like we said, we never expected the words to come out.
Let's just get to the postseason now, folks. Well, I've been John and you've been Andy.
One more thing for anybody who's into watching Twitch, Tutu Atwell is now on Twitch streaming gaming. He's doing
is he playing anything interesting?
Fortnite so far, I believe. I saw a tweet today about it.
It would be Fortnite, wouldn't it?
Aye. Well, at least it's not Madden.
Aye, well, true. Don't happen to have his handle, do you?
Just search Tutu Atwell on Twitch, it'll come up, mate. Or I think if you look at if you've got Twitter, have a look on his Twitter page. I believe he's got a link to it on there as well.
All right, cool. So yeah, any budding Fortnite players out there you go. Help your man Tutu, party up with him or whatever.
Whatever you do, I don't know. I've never played it, mate.
It's like my 7-year-old plays Fortnite religiously, and like he started playing online with his friends from school on like private servers and that, and it just God.
Well, I'm lucky.
Anyways,
forever into that garbage.
No. Anyways, but Andy, thanks for joining me. It's always great to talk to you, mate, about the Rams, and look forward to speaking to you next week about our push into the playoffs.
Yeah, I say look forward to next week when we can discuss who we've finally, we've figured out who we've got in the playoffs, and hey, you never know, we might get a lucky win, but if we do, I'll be very, very happy.
Yeah, but that's all for us this evening, folks. We will catch you next week where we will look back at the game against Statmore, but we'll focus a lot more time on the preview of the postseason. So thanks again for joining us, folks, and we'll catch you next week on another edition of the LA Rams UK podcast. Take care and goodbye.